What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy ABK, and thank you for checking out another one of my weekly Forex and cryptocurrency analysis. I really do appreciate y'all. And before we get started, please don't forget, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, comment if you gain some value from this, because I'm pretty sure y'all gonna get some value. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this. You guys know that I am, for those who are not new here, I am mainly a technical analysis trader. I do look at the fundamentals right before I do my weekly analysis, but that's only to check out when are the high impact news. I don't care about the results. I don't care about what's really being said. I am just a technical analysis trader, right? That's just how I look at the market. So Monday we do have federal election in Canada. Um, it's funny enough because I'm over here in Canada and I barely learned about that like 2 days ago. I'm like, oh snaps, it's election, but I don't pay attention to that. Um, so that's going to be an all-day thing. So watch that for US for the Canadian dollar. 8:30 p.m. we have Australian dollar news with the monetary policy meeting minutes. Tuesday, no news. Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, there is going to be FOMC for the US dollar. So you want to watch that for sure, for sure. We also have the press conference 30 minutes after. So that's the where you really want to watch where the real move is going to be. Because sometimes with the FOMC, it'll go one way. And then like during the 1 p.m. news and then 1:30 with the FOMC statement, it'll go the opposite way. So just watch out for that. Thursday, 2:30 a.m., we have CHF news, which I mean, I don't usually see CHF news like that, to be honest. Monetary policy statement, and euro as well with the German flash manufacturing PMI. 6 a.m. we have GBP news, with the asset purchase facility and MPC asset purchase facility votes. Again, guys, I don't pay attention. I don't really care about all that stuff. I'm just naming them off for y'all so that you guys, if you want to go and take a look at it, like there's the folder right there that tells you more about the news and stuff like that for Forex Factory, right? But I mean, again, I don't really care too much about that. GDP, same thing, 6 a.m. monetary policy summary, and then 9 a.m. for the US dollar. Federal Chair Powell will be speaking. As to what he'll be speaking on, I do not know. And again, I do not care. All right. So with that being said, let's go on over to the charts. I'm going to go ahead and put this on full screen. There we go. Okay. So with the US dollar, very bullish week last week. Very bullish week last week, which then makes me think about, just off top, like just looking at the candlestick. Let me even remove my drawing. Just looking at the candlestick where it bounced off of the 50 EMA weekly time frame with a huge whip to the downside and then a push to the upside as well. Those are just multiple signs of me thinking that this is going to continue going bullish rather than following this wedge, right? So right now, currently, price is at a supply zone that I did from the daily time frame from this drop when price had reversed from this this wedge right here, or this rising wedge that I have. But again, even with on the daily time frame, look where price was really consolidating at right at the 50 EMA, then popped up 2 bullish days consecutively. I think the US dollar is going to keep going bullish, as I had mentioned. I'm going to go on over to the 4-hour time frame real quick. And this was the play that I had talked about. So there you go. So with the Fib retracement, initially I had thought that this first move was going to be what went bullish, but price ended up coming back, stopping some traders out. If you never got a chance to get back in, that's unfortunate, but then it went bullish again, right? So yeah, like right now, all I could really say like is, the DXY right now currently is at this demand zone. You guys can see right here, price demand came in and price pushed to the downside. But from this buy box, I do highly expect the US dollar to keep going bullish. Let me go ahead and get rid of this right here. This is the move that I have spoken about, that I said that, okay, this is where most likely the DXY, if it does maintain these levels, that it's going to go bullish from, right? And it matched up right where the wedge was at as well. So, I mean, things are going accordingly. This was the initial play right here. Things are going accordingly. Again, at this 23.6 fib, that's where you could expect some, consolidation. But I mean, with this in particular, higher highs at 95.151. I don't know how long it's going to take. That looks like it could possibly take weeks. Like it could take weeks or a few weeks to get up there, but you definitely want to like not try to, like, I mean, although this is, you don't want to try to catch a rocket, right? You know how you don't want to try to catch a falling knife when price is just falling, and then you want to be like, oh well, I'm going to try to get into a buy right here. Same thing. You don't want to try to get into a sell as price is rocketing to the upside, right? Because I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are looking at that downside push, which I'll go ahead and put back up. I'm pretty sure that there's people that are looking for this sell at the supply zone. And again, just based off of how the price action is looking with these candlesticks, I wouldn't really recommend trying to sell it right here at all. If you want to, by all means, but yeah, you'll just be going up against a whole lot of bulls that have entered into the market. So let's see how this plays out ultimately. I'm going to go ahead and delete everything from this chart. And I'm still going to put up this zone right here, because this is something that we do definitely have to watch out for. But again, like I mentioned, price, I do believe, is going to keep going bullish. Going to put my fib back up the way how I had it. Okay, and then definitely gonna just draw out this zone. I mean, again, though, the way how price came up, I don't think that is gonna stop right here. I really don't think so. And the reason why I'm drawing up new charts is because I have way too many drawings on like all of my charts, to be quite honest. And I'm just like, okay, I gotta delete some stuff because it was starting to get confusing. And that's not what I want. There you go. All right. So let's see what happens overall. But I definitely, this buy box, that's crucial for me. This supply zone, really going to watch what price is going to do here. But I do expect price to continue going to the upside. There you go. All right, so that is what I have for the US dollars. Going over to arbitrage. I don't think I have any drawings on here either. Yeah, I do, but it's basically the same thing. I was mentioning with the weekly time frame, I did kind of want price to come down. Well, for technical analysis, I didn't want price to come down to the RSI line, but for arbitrage, I did want it to come down, but it never did. But regardless, I've been mentioning about this buy that arbitrage is called for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. So the 11th week was last week. And yeah, I mean, price going up to 94.698 at this point. Arbitrage, the mean line has been broken through. Yeah, at this point, I do believe the buys are just going to keep going. The daily time frame, it didn't necessarily retrace off of this sell call, which is what I was saying last week. I was like, although this sell call is here, I don't necessarily want it. I would rather go for the buy. And so that's what's going to end up happening for arbitrage. And again, it's just, just looking at what price action is doing, and then also just the experience with arbitrage that I have. I'm like, this isn't really the play for me. I'd rather play off the weekly. 4 hour time frame, I would never have played off of that. And the 1 hour, I'm pretty damn sure it's extremely bullish. So it's going over to Euro USD. I'm going to talk about the chart before I delete everything. All right, so Euro USD, been in this trade for like 3 weeks. I got in this trade around over here, and 31st of August. No, well, yeah, I think like around that time. And ever since, I was in drawdown, almost got my stop loss taken out, and then price ended up dropping, and now stop losses at break even. Price is at positive 103 pips. I was risking 84 pips. That's solid for me. And as like I mentioned with the DXY, I have myself, because the Euro USD is the opposite of the DXY. I have Euro USD, the sell box. It rejected off of it perfectly, off of the 78.6, didn't go any higher, thank goodness, because I would have got stopped out. And price just kept dropping, and I do expect price to keep falling. So I'm already in this trade, and I've been talking about this trade. Again, I've been talking about the same thing for 3 weeks now. So if you're not in the sell, then I don't know what to say, quite honestly. And I'm just like being extremely truthful. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, actually, delete everything, and then paste it. Dang, it didn't put me back to my spot. Never mind. 1.18300. That's my entry. 1.18300. All right. Got my, that's where my initial entry was at. Stop loss is at break even. And if I know myself, the trade setup that I had for this was from this high to this low. Yep. Draw out the zone. That's the sell box. Like I've already talked about the Euro USD, and like I said, it's the exact opposite. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and put this where my TP's at. I think my TP was, I'm gonna extend my TP all the way down to the 61.8 extension. My original TP was at 1.15458, but again, I'm extending it to just the 61.8, because I mean that's where I expect price to go to next, right? Don't know how long it's gonna take. Could take weeks, could take a month, but that's where I expect price to get down to eventually, sooner than later, right? But like I mentioned with the DXY, let me go ahead and hide this. From the low of 1.16627 to the high of 1.19070. Right now, we are in a current demand zone, right? We have a demand zone that price can definitely decide to reject off of before going bullish. So I'm going to go ahead and be patient. And I mean, I'm holding my trade still. If I get a retracement and price goes closer to my entry, then I might decide to do the similar thing that I did with GBP/USD a couple weeks ago, right? Or was it last week? I think it was a couple weeks ago. It was a couple weeks ago where I had said that, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put my stop loss back to its original position. And I'm also going to add another position to my trade, like doubling down type of thing, because I mean, like I said, I do expect for there to be some type of consolidation here. However, I do also expect this to continue making lower lows, right? Like I do expect Euro USD to continue making lower lows, especially with the type of price action that I'm seeing on the daily time frame, on the weekly time frame. Yeah, I'm expecting this to continue falling. So that is with Euro USD. Gonna go ahead and hide that and have my demand zone right there. But yeah, I do expect for some type of consolidation to happen over here. But let's see what happens. As of right now, I'm chilling in the trade. Not gonna get out. Gonna let this thing fly. Going over to arbitrage real quick. Same thing, 4-hour time frame, very much bearish. I had talked about this bearish opportunity on arbitrage. That did the digital hardcore. Daily time frame. And again, we like this was the main thing about Euro USD about it's calling for this buy. It could still potentially go bullish, but I wasn't really here for it because the weekly time frame again, it was bearish and it was rejecting off of this compass line. Once I saw that, I was like, okay, maybe this is going to end up falling, and indeed it did. You know, especially with the price action, just it's just confluence. That's why arbitrage is my edge. Is my edge, right? Like it's goaded, if you will. All right, so that's with Euro USD. Just going looking at the weekly time frame. Again, I do very much expect this to make a lower low because it failed to make a higher high right here. It broke through the structure where it would have, or right here where this would have been the higher low before going higher, making a higher high, broke through that, retraced, then went bearish again, made a lower low right here. But I mean, hey, it could possibly keep going high, a little higher, but I don't think it is. Like I said, I believe this is going to continue falling. So with that being said, AUD USD is next. All right, AUD USD. I was saying that yes, although I did want to see the bearish move off of this bearish flag right here, which that played out pretty nice, really nicely. Oh my goodness, man. Like, yeesh, I had talked about this bearish flag, played out to perfection from this high drop. Yeesh. I should have played that. But anyways, ADU, I had multiple opportunities to get into that. Like, honestly, I'm kind of like, why didn't you get in? But it's all right. ADUSD though, it is coming into same thing. It's coming into a demand zone, just like with, or not even demand zone, because I'm not low-key trying to buy this here. And the only reason why I'm trying to buy it is because overall on ADUSD on a higher time frame, it is at a huge buy zone or demand zone, whatever you want to call it, right? It is at a huge area where it's like, sorry, where it could turn around because, like, remember, it came to this 71% from this fib, bounced right up and broke through this structure where this lower high was at. So I mean, I could potentially, even the way how it came down, although it came down deep, not super fast, but the price action, again, it's just like with the other USD pairs. The price action is looking like this wants to make a lower low. Because we got to admit, on the weekly time frame, no matter what, it did break structure, and it doesn't really need to retrace all. I mean, I feel like it still needs. I mean, not that I feel like it needs to, but I would definitely want it to come back up to 0.76240 or 0.77124 before making another push to the downside, like making a lower low, right? But I mean, I would just have to say wait for AUD to make some price action moves down at this fib zone because it still hasn't reached there. I still has to go down to 0.72150 for me. Move that right there. So, or 140, sorry. So I still would need that to get my alert to get hit before trying to get in. But man, this drop, I mean, from how many weeks ago I had mentioned about I want this to start falling. If you would have got into that, that's money right there. But I wouldn't expect anybody to, right? So with that being said, let's go on over to arbitrage. I'm pretty sure everything is bearish on it because the weekly time frame is bearish. That's another reason why I'm like, I'm not so crazy over where the fib is at. I mean, where price is at. If price did come over to 0.72140, that might be where the weekly arbitrage lower danger zone will be at. And if it holds, then yeah, I'm absolutely going to take that buy for sure. I'll take it because again, I would appreciate if 0.77124 gets hit before 80 USD makes another lower low, right? But again, we got to see what price action is looking like when prices get there, if prices get there at that. Daily time frame, price is still calling for a buy, but I do expect actually this to call for a sell in a day or two. 4-hour time frame, very much bearish. So yeah, again, AUD USD is like with the other pairs, right? Don't try to trade it right now. Don't try to catch a falling knife, or don't try to get into a sell, because if you try to get into a sell right now, what happens if the market opens and then price just turns around? Then you're just at the bottom of a retracement, like, and nobody wants to be in that type of drawdown, right? So that's for AUD USD. UCHF went bonkers, and if you got into this trade, then congratulations, because there was very little drawdown, very little drawdown. This went extremely bonkers. Trade of the week status, all the way I caught it on, was it on Friday that I caught it, or Thursday? Still, trade of the week status. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete everything. Going over to the weekly time frame. Love the price action. I remember last week I was saying that I'm not too crazy over the price action for the weekly, but I still stayed in the trade because price did end up closing above the 50 EMA on the weekly time frame. So I mean, I'm glad that I stayed in it. There is something that I do want to point out, which naturally, just like with every other USD pair, UCHF is currently at the supply or demand zone. Depending on, like, you guys know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, then check out Next Wave Education System, or education system. I'm tripping. Educational platform. I'm logged. But yeah, there is definitely a supply zone that UCHF is at, and I'm definitely like, you got to be cautious about it. What was I trying to do? Oh, that is not what I wanted. Text. There you go. So it is at the supply zone. And you got to also realize that this isn't the first time that UCHF has touched the supply zone. It did come up here for this to the 61.8 and drop down back to this 23.6. But again, just like with all the other USD pairs, I do expect some type of consolidation here, but I kind of wanted to keep going at this point. Although I'm not in this trade, I would just want to see this actually make a higher high on the weekly time frame. Quite honestly, that would make me feel a lot better. But if it doesn't, and I mean, hey, we have FOMC, and FOMC does have a history of pushing the market like the opposite way, you know? So who knows? Maybe we can definitely get some consolidation at the supply zone, and then with that FOMC news, price drops. I wouldn't be surprised of that either. But until then, like I said, if you're not in the trade, like how I'm not in the trade, you got to be patient and wait for a opportunity. You don't want to try to catch a flying rocket and then you get burnt. 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame is bullish. Daily time frame extremely bullish. The buy call was right here on the 30th of August. And Wednesday, weekly time frame. Yeah, and this is another reason why I had my take profit where it was, because where this is the upper danger zone, and that's where I would have already tried to take profits if I was in this buy from down at this low, right? So yeah, I'm just waiting to see what UCHF is going to do, because it is kind of at a crucial point where it could definitely turn around, but that candlestick is not telling that story. The candlestick is saying, I want to go higher. All right. S&P. This was a trade that I had mentioned in the next wave chat. I was like, oh, who wants to try to take a 1 to 14.86 risk to reward trade? I was crazy to take that, especially on a Friday. But the reason why is because price was like right at the 50 EMA, and I wanted to test this, like, take a trade at each one of these EMAs and see what happens. And you know what? Just because I took a loss on that trade doesn't mean that I have lost hope, because as I had mentioned last week, I wanted to see price come down to at least to this 4,412 price. And I wanted to see, because that's my buy box, right? My 71%. And I wanted to see this go bullish from there. So I'm still waiting to see what that looks like. Although, just like with everything else, the price action, this looks like it might want to actually go even lower. And I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad at that. I'm going to go ahead and actually remove everything. The reason why I'm not mad at that is because when I look at this from this bearish move, from this low of 4,231 to the high of 4,482-ish, I noticed that the retracement didn't come down and make a complete move down to the 61.8 or the 71% fib. So that's when I'm like, okay, this can possibly be this can possibly be what's happening. So from this low to this high, since this didn't make a full retracement, that makes me question if this is what's actually going to be the play, especially with how the price action is looking. That price action is looking pretty bearish to me, right? Price is closed into the 50 EMA. I wouldn't be surprised if price came down to 4,325, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put an alert here. Create. And I'm also going to still put an alert where I had it previously, which is down at this 4,411, 4,413 area, right? And price is currently at that fib zone. However, like I said, that price action, I would need to see like some type of rejection here, or I need to see some price action on the lower time frame to tell me, okay, yes, try to take this. Because at this point, it's just like everything else, right? It looks like it's a falling knife, right? So buy box, I'm gonna put that right there. I actually should put another one over here, because this is actually a very huge demand zone. Demand. Actually, I'm gonna just leave the other color. And this fib is gonna be hidden. So that's what I'm looking at for these plays. Like, I want to see which one of these is gonna play out. I feel like this bottom swing down here might be the move, but who knows, right? Because just look at it this way, right? From this low of 4,139 to the high of 4,397. Look where price came back down to. It actually did come back down to the 61.8 before making another higher high. Same thing with over here. If we take this low, if we take price from the low of 4,037 and then we like put it at the high of 4,185, we can see that price did come into this retreat into this fib zone before making a higher high. Then same thing, if you want to take it from the low of 4,059 and to the high of 4,266, you could see that wick came right here into that 61.8. So that's why I have those two boxes mapped out, right? I basically, like I told y'all what it was. Like, that's why I have this mapped out, and I'm just like, is this going to hold right where price is at in this current buy box, or is it going to come and it's going to try to make a lower low and fake out a lot of people? But then again, there's a lot of people who say that, oh, the S&P, it's way overbought, it's way too bullish. But I mean, other than back in 2008 when the recession happened, the the S&P's been extremely bullish. So I mean, I do definitely agree that yes, it does on a chart, it looks ridiculous. It does actually look very ridiculous up here for anybody to want to even try to buy this when there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, basically 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I mean, because even with this, even when COVID happened, even when COVID happened and this drop happened, the rebound is extraordinary. Like it's been since April of 2020, it's just been bullish. So it's like it's ridiculous. It does look ridiculous how it looks, but at the end of the day, and people don't want this to drop. And I'm pretty sure with the excess amount of money that's that is circulating now, that they're going to try their very hardest to keep it bullish. So let's see what happens. You have, like I always say, you have a higher chance of making money on the S&P and them when they just make a deep retracement and buying. Rather than trying to sell it, you'll always have a better chance at buying than selling. And you can see that clearly on the chart, right? Same thing with US 30. It's coming into this. Let me get rid of this demand zone right here. It's coming into the 61.8 fib level. I want it to personally come down to 34,286. However, well, let me delete all this right here because that was from last week. However, same thing. Price action doesn't look the greatest. It looks like price wants to keep falling, which I'm going to still, I'm still going to have this this buy box right here. But and with thing about US 30 is that this looks better, which makes me think that S&P, where it's at, is going to go bullish, right? Because from this low of $33,033 to the high of 35,100, basically, price came down to the fib and then made a higher high. So that's why I'm just like, hey, maybe with how the US 30 is looking, it's going to give influence to S&P for it to go bullish where it's at. But again, of course, gotta place this fib over here, which is just slightly lower than where my entry is at. But knowing me, if I were to place a stop loss, my stop loss is going to be literally right where if I were to just be patient, a little bit more patient and wait for this pricing, that would be where my entry would be at. So I'm gonna go ahead and just have them same alert, right? I mean, same thing. Just added an alert to both swings, and whichever one I like the price action more, I'm gonna take that. And stop loss at break even, there's nothing wrong with that. That just means, hey, you have a better opportunity later. So that's what I have for US 30. Create that as well. There we go. And I'm going to go back to S&P. I forgot to look at arbitrage. I'm pretty sure that daily doing numbers. Oh, this is the 4 hour. I was talking about the daily. Yeah, daily time frame looks like it's about to call for a sell. So that's another thing that I'd be sometimes worried about with the S&P, because more times than not, when it calls for a sell, it's usually a fake out and then price just goes bullish again. Same thing right here. Called for a sell, it was a fake out, price went bullish again. Same thing right here. Call for a sell. I mean, I will never get in a sell right there, but you guys know what I mean, right? So it's kind of iffy with me when it comes to the S&P. I know that the 4 hour, 1 hour, and lower, they're all bearish, but the daily still hasn't called for a sell, and the weekly is very far away from calling a sell. So, and likewise with, I mean, the daily time frame on here looked way better where it called for a sell, and then it ended up dropping for sure. I'm pretty sure that looks bearish. Weekly time frame, the weekly candle does look terrible, absolutely terrible for both S&P and the Dow Jones. The weekly candlesticks look like they want to continue falling, so that's something again gotta watch out for. But I'm not convinced yet, not yet. All right, let's look at the tacos. Let's look at the tacos. All right. So with USD Mexican, sorry for the change in the background. I wanted to change it up a little bit. But yeah, so USD Mexican had this bearish move and then actually ended up going bullish, which surprised me because I'm like, yo, US dollar has been bearish. US dollar's been going bullish, but US Mexican's been bearish. What's going on? And I've been patient with it, being extremely patient with it, and it's actually breaking out to the upside, which is surprising. I'm actually like, I was saying, like, yo, I'm waiting for this to see if this is going to be a bear flag, and it hasn't. I mean, and realistically speaking, I can't say from this low, which is it's going to be kind of weird for me to do this, from this low all the way down here to this high. I mean, it was respecting this fib zone this whole time, right? It's just that it looked really weird to me. It was consolidating. I was okay with actually waiting for the bullish move. And now I'm going to wait for the retracement, because if I really go back into the 4-hour time frame, what would I be able to see here? Not the greatest falling wedge, but you know what I mean? Definitely valid enough. Push down, up, down, wait for the breakout. Now, if I get the retracement, then I'll get in there. That's what I was waiting. That's what I was waiting for this whole time for on USD Mexican. So wherever it stops at, if it stops here or whatever, I'm waiting for the retracement and then a continuation to the upside. So once I get that, we'll be solid. We'll be solid with the play finally from USD Mexican. But I was definitely like, I don't know, Chief. But so now we got it. Let's see what it do, baby. All right, so that's on technical analysis. Let me go on over to the arbitrage charts. Oops, sorry. All right, so with RB weekly time frame still gliding on this weekly lower danger zone, which, I mean, again, it's hard resistance right there. I mean, support right there. It did call for a sell on the daily time frame, but I would never try to get into a sell right there. So, I mean, that's just that with the daily 4-hour time frame, extremely bullish. I would probably definitely, I mean, not even probably, I would not have gotten into this buy personally. That's just me. 1-hour time frame, same thing. I there was no opportunities for me. I'm just glad that we finally got a breakout to a certain area. Now let's get the retracement and let's keep it going. I'm just really happy about that overall. So that's for tacos. Let's go on over to gold. Man, gold was tough, man. Gold was a very, very tough move. So I remember I was talking about, and apparently a lot of people were taking L's off of this gold move. They thought it was going to go bullish from here, and I'm just like, I mean, I was talking about this bearish flag that was here, and I had mapped out that, oh, there's these liquidity. Oops, sorry. This liquidity that was down over here that I'm like, yo, if price comes and grab this and goes bullish, I'm gonna see what it does. I'm gonna see what price action is gonna do up here. And although price, it really did come up here pretty fast, I still took the chance. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get into this sell. And I had mentioned it up in the next wave chat, and we took this thing to these lows and it made a lower low off of this bear flag. And so right now, and I was telling one of my students this, I was like, right now, I kind of really want to see what what gold's gonna do here, because it could literally do the same exact thing that it did up here and just be on a bear flag, or not be on create a bear flag and then end up being bearish again, right? It could definitely do the same thing, since especially since it's right here at this main this is like a main area, like a main zone, right? Let me go ahead and remove drawings. Let me go ahead and remove all those drawings, and I'm gonna put that back up again. 4 hour time frame, sorry. Right, so there's the bear flag. Go on to the weekly time frame real quick. Draw out the zone. This wick, again, I keep saying this multiple times, I feel like this wick is gonna get filled. The way how that wick just moved and the price went, like it just went straight bullish right after that. That's stuff that makes me think that, okay, it's gonna go and get filled up. So I do think that it's gonna end up, price is gonna end up coming back down. And even if it doesn't, let's just say that price just, it's good. This is still going to be like a bullish move. I would still need price to come down to 1722 before I decide to try to get into a buy on gold. And even with that, I would have to see the price action and see what it's going to do. So until that happens, I'm going to see what this bear flag is going to look like. I might try to play the range. If price comes back down to this area, maybe I'll try to play the range and get into a buy down here. But other than that, I think this might go bearish again. Again, this is most likely going to be in a range, especially with where price is at. But if it ends up respecting this move over here, I might try to get into the sell and try to sell that back down. So let's see what happens here, right? Let's see what happens with gold. I definitely do like the bearish move on it personally. 1 hour time frame, I would only expect for, especially after a move like that and a consolidation going on, I would only expect for a buy possibility to be setting up, right? So going to be watching for that for a possible buy move, because I mean, this just looks too easy, kind of. Break, retest, continuation to the upside. That would probably then end up starting to try to set up for a gold sell, but I mean for a gold buy. But I'm definitely, even on the weekly time frame right here, price is at a crucial area. This is at the lower danger zone of this play, and on the weekly time frame, gold had called for a buy like just about 3 weeks ago. So I mean, either a price is going to reject off of here, which I don't think it is, but with this wick, it makes me wonder. And there's equal lows down here as well, so that's another thing that we have to really worry about. There's equal lows down at 1677. Monthly time frame, I mean, it looks like it's kind of setting up, but it's again, this is on the monthly time frame. That's going to take months before we start talking about that. So yeah, with gold, I'm just waiting to see what's gonna happen right here. So it's going over to the cryptos. It's going over to Bitcoin and them. All right. Weekly time frame. Goodness gracious, let me get rid of all this stuff. Hold on. All right, weekly time frame. I like this candle that's about to close in about 20 hours, basically tomorrow. There's 2 weeks to the downside that's making me think that okay, this could be tweezer bottoms and price can definitely continue going bullish, which I would love for price to come back. I mean, I still want to see price come up to 54,000, no cap. I still do want to see that. Um, However, this bearish move again that happened here is it got me kind of like tripping. And I mean, at the end of the day, I would still need to see this retracement happen over here up to 50,125. I would still need to see what happens when price comes back up to the zone. If it's going to continue falling or if it's just gonna like hold and then go bullish and go up to 54,000, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and still like map this out. I got to like again, I'm not really too crazy over it to be quite honest with you. Going over to the 4-hour time frame, it kind of looks like price might be wanting to make a push to the downside, quite honestly. It is over the 50 EMA, so that's something that's good to watch out for. But I don't really care for how these equal highs on the lower time frame were broken through and then price ended up just dropping down so easily, right? So what I mean is like, oh, there's these equal highs, price ended up dropping, then it came back up, faked out to the upside basically, and then ended up falling down. I don't really care for how that happened. It makes me think that okay, maybe price is just doing a stop out and it's gonna keep falling, right? So that's something that I'm really watching for with the cryptos, seeing if that's what this is gonna be. But I would definitely rather, again, 50,125 to get reached before I even start thinking about okay, should I start selling it rather than trying to sell it here. However, when we go on over to the arbitrage, first of all, weekly time frame is still calling for this sell. Last week, the bearish candle, it was still very much. It's still like magenta candle. I don't like seeing magenta candles. Makes me only want to try to sell it. Daily time frame is also calling for a sell. Price is rejecting off of that upper danger zone. So it's like, it's kind of iffy to me. It is currently over the RSI line, but it still has 20 hours and 55 minutes until this candle closes. So that's something you really want to watch out for with Bitcoin right now. It does seem like it's holding here for the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. 4-hour time frame is still very much bullish, and 1-hour time frame it's currently under the RSI line, so you want to watch out for that as well. So that's for Bitcoin, right? I would want to see that bullish move. However, arbitrage is like, I might be trying to drop right here, right now. So going on over to Ripple, going over to the weekly time frame, or yeah, weekly time frame still has about 20 hours to close. Nothing really too crazy this week, so that's something that I'm not really happy to see with Ripple. This just looks like it's a bear flag, although there was a huge hook to the upside. There's just a whole bunch of consolidation going on right here, and again, this is something that I'm not really too crazy about seeing. Not really too crazy about seeing this at all. I'm not counting this wick because it's just one crazy bullish wick, which was a fake out, and then price has just been under the 50 EMA this whole time. Yeah, Ripple isn't really looking the greatest to me. It looks like it might want to continue pushing to the downside, quite honestly. And the more consolidates like this and like respect this range, the more I'm going to feel like that. However, I would want to see personally. Well, actually, already did do that. That's the crazy part. You see what I'm saying? It already did do that. It already did make the retracement back up to the 61.8, this sell area. So it's kind of like it could just keep falling right here, literally, and there wouldn't be any issue at all, you know? So it's like Ripple's not looking the greatest. I'm gonna have to wait and see what it does, quite honestly. 1-hour time frame, as you can see, it looks like it might be starting to call for a sell, but it's risky, man. A whole bunch of consolidation on the 4-hour, so I would not play this. The boy how the bands are contracted. I have to wait for a breakout at this point. I feel like the breakout to the downside is going to happen. Daily time frame, I have been talking about this sell. That's the short position right there. Price is currently a little bit in profit, so just, I mean, again, I really feel like these cryptos are about to fall, and if they do end up falling, I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, well, cryptos fell. I told y'all so, yada yada. I'm just gonna be like, it is what it is. It's part of the game, right? That's why you make plans for these things and you just watch them accordingly. And if you feel like they're gonna go against you, then you can do something about it, or you could just chill. So yeah, let's see what happens with Ripple. I definitely would rather it make a better move than this. I would rather it go and fill up this wick. But the way how arbitrage daily time frame is looking, it's not looking like a friend. And last but not least, for the cryptos, Ethereum. Ethereum. What the heck am I doing? Okay. So for Ethereum, this came back up into the supply zone, crashed down, respect to the daily 50 EMA, and now is currently still in the supply zone. Weekly time frame, I'm not really liking that doji candle, especially right here at this supply zone. And price ended up retracing to the upside. Let me actually show what the retracement looked like. It's kind of not the greatest looking either. So let's just say from this high of 4,023 to 3,015, price did come back up and hit the 61.8 Fibonacci level. So it could, and it rejected off of it and dropped pretty nicely. So it can really keep dropping. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see 2,392, quite honestly. I wouldn't want to see that, but I wouldn't be surprised either, you know? 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame looks like, though, however, that let's just say from this low to from the low of 3,100 to the high of 3,676. If price comes down to 3,272 and then goes bullish, absolutely, let's go and make a higher high or equal highs at least at 40.28. You know, so I'm just really cautious with Ethereum. I'm not trying to trade it at this point like that, like see, like on a super hard level, because I mean, it's even on the daily time frame where it's at, it looks like yesterday's candle might be indicating that it can go bearish, especially with the previous day's candle as well, but it's still over the RSI line on the daily and on the weekly time frame. It's still very much bullish. So that's something about Ethereum that's like it's still extremely bullish. 4-hour time frame, it's calling for a buy, but I wouldn't necessarily trade this, to be quite honest with you. And the 1-hour time frame called for a sell. So again, it's not looking the greatest, but also it's not looking like you want to necessarily want to try to hop into anything. I mean, you could try to get into a sell stop below these equal lows, but I mean, again, it's kind of dangerous at this point, but you can try it if you would like, you know. I'm not gonna go ahead and say that, oh, don't do it, yada yada. All right. GBP USD, I talked about this last week where I said that, or like, yeah, it was definitely, was last week? Yeah, it definitely was last week where I had mentioned that, oh, I'm going to go ahead and put my stop loss back to what it was and then get back in the trade. And now, I mean, back in profits. I would not have wanted to just get stopped out and then like, oh, I'm no longer in the trade. Price came up to the 78.6, rejected off of that perfectly. That would have been a sniper if, again, if Peyton got into that, and then price ended up dropping. So now, just still in the trade. At this point, 138 pips. Now I'm definitely moving my stop loss to break even. I just want GU to keep falling and don't need to risk anything. That's how we do it. Keep falling GU. And if you're not in the trade, I wouldn't try to get in it. No. 1 hour. I've been talking about it for weeks now, so that's why I'm like, at this point, you might as well just wait. Daily time frame hasn't called for a sell yet, or it has actually called for the sell right here. It actually never called for the buy. And the weekly time frame, so this is what I was saying, that I want this to fall, and it looks like it's respecting that. If it continues to fall, then we're all gravy. So that's for GU. Pretty slow analysis on that. Don't really have much to really go off of. GA. All right. GA. I'm gonna go ahead and just show what I was looking at for GA. This is what I had shown to a couple of chats, and also next wave. I was like, yo, I'm gonna try to get into this sell at the 71% fib. Take it down to make a lower low. Price it just came and hit the 61.8 and has been consolidating for a pretty long time. So I wanted to see price push to the downside right here. I'm actually going to extend this to 61.8. But overall, I just wanted to show that, and my 1-to-1 got hit, so I'm actually at break even with this trade. Although I think I might have got stopped out, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check my MT5. But yeah, I was saying that from this buy box, I wanted to see price come up to this supply zone or sell box. I mean, 1.89725 won't be bad, but the way how the GEPs are looking, they look like they want to fall. So I just want this to end up falling as well. Again, and remember what I was saying about AUD USD. I do need it to still drop a little lower for me to be like, okay, now that it's dropped a little lower, now I'll get into a buy, which I feel like AUD pairs. I mean, the Australian dollar has more influence on GA than the GBP pair does. So we'll see what happens here. I definitely do want price to kind of like drop right now just because of the trade that I'm in right now. But even if I get stopped out and price goes bullish a little bit more, I wouldn't be mad, because again, 1.89725 is an entry that I'm personally looking for. Weekly time frame, price is holding at the second deviation. That's pretty nice to see. That means that there might be possible rejections. Daily time frame called for this sell. It still hasn't called for an exit off of the sell yet. So I mean, right now is in a bad place to try to sell this, right? 4-hour time frame, it's setting up for the sell as well. I mean, I don't know. 1-hour time frame is calling for a sell. I mean, I don't know. It looks pretty nice for a sell to me. So there you guys have it with GA. Definitely that bearish move. It looks pretty solid. GBP JPY, man. GJ. I mean, what can I say? What can I say, man? GJ ended up coming to 152.463, which is very interesting. Where's the trade? This was my entry that I have on GJ up at 152.037. I honestly thought that price was going to come back up and give me another chance to get a second entry after this bearish move, but it ended up faking out a little bit and then pushing down. And actually, it didn't even fake out, because I think Payton had actually called that move the buy. He had mentioned this right here. He had said that where was it? What play was it? I forgot. I think he had mentioned. I don't know. I should, to be honest, I forgot which play that he said for the sell. I'm not even sure if it was this. I kind of feel like it was. Let me see. Actually, no, it wasn't. But anyways, like this looks like on on a higher time frame. If I draw this out and then I go into the daily time frame, it just looks like that. Oh, off of that bear flag, it was just a wick, and price ended up pushing down to the downside. And I expect this to make lower lows. It's just like with all the other GV pairs. I expect it to make a lower low. If you're not in this trade, then I'm sorry. And I mean, at this point, like I mentioned with GJ, at this point, I'm not really too sure if you would want to put your stop loss at break even, because that's where price is at 115, risking 155 pips. You can. I'm gonna go ahead and move my stop loss to break even. I feel like at this point it's just gonna keep falling. But if it doesn't, then it is what it is. And I'm very sure the 1 hour through daily time frame is bearish. Yep, everything is bearish. 4 hour time frame bearish. You do want to watch for this daily though, because it is at this lower danger zone, but I do expect this to continue falling. Now the weekly time frame is not quite bearish yet, so I would need this to make a lower low, retrace up to the RSI line before I'm very confident in the weekly sell. But not right now, I'm pretty confident, but I'm not very confident, right? So that's just the difference about it. So I want to see that lower low be made, but I am still in this trade and I'm still going to hold it. Okay. And last but not least, Euro GBP. So I had mentioned that I'm still in this sell and I still am in it. Although, yes, price did go bullish and enough for me to say that, okay, I'm going to move my stop loss to break even. I still got back in it and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hold this trade because I do want to see GJ go bullish, because I mean EG go bullish, because I am bearish on the GBP pairs. So still going to hold this trade, still holding pretty nicely. Daily time frame. If you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely holding at the 71%. At the fib in general, just the daily time frame doesn't look great, right? Daily time frame is rejecting off of the 50 EMA. It looks like it might be wanting to push to the downside, but again, I'm going to still hold this trade. Overall on the weekly time frame, it looks probably like the doji. Yeah, I'm still going to hold this, but it is not the greatest looking trade, quite honestly. It just looks like that it wants to keep making lower lows. But the way how the other GB pairs look, I'm just like, I beg to differ, you know? So that's with EG. And
I didn't understand that.
oh, it's my phone that I was talking to it. Weekly time frame still setting up, but nothing quite yet, nothing quite concrete. Daily time frame on EG, I don't care for it, but it is rejecting off of this lower danger zone, but it's also rejecting off of the RSI line. So it's kind of iffy for me. I wouldn't try to trade off of the daily time frame at this point. And this 4 hour time frame, I mean, once this candle opens, once the next candle pops up, this is going to be technically a buy. So that 4 hours is interesting. But, I don't really, other than that, I really don't see anything on EG except for this buy that I'm already in, and I'm going to just maintain it. I mean, it's holding above this 1 hour RSI line, so I want to watch that for sure. But with that being said, guys, that is it for me. I appreciate you guys for checking out my weekly analysis, and let's see what this week brings us. Let's make some money. Later, y'all.